Hey, this is Jason Howarth with Panini. You're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. There is no off season.
This is Adam Rips with VFriends. I'm loving the content here on the Sports Card Strategy Show and the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network. There is no offseason.
What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show. Don't forget to get a free 30-day trial at NoOffSeason.com today to help you make money flipping sports cards, build your sports card investment portfolio, get unlimited advice from our experts, and take sports card school to navigate the hobby. That's NoOffSeason.com. Get your free 30-day trial today. All the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show is from MarketMoversApp.com. Use code NOOFFSEASON at MarketMoversApp.com to get 20% off for life after a free 14-day trial. All right, let's get to the Sports Card Strategy. Yo, I'm Paul Hickey. You are here to learn how to make money flipping sports cards and have a little fun along the way. It is May 29th, and it's football card buying season. I'm just going to say it like it is. It's football card buying season, and for me to help you make money flipping sports cards, it's got to be in one of two ways. Number one, it's got to be safe. But number two, it's got to be risky. It's a mix of safe and risky, and we're going to break that down in today's episode. But first, it's time for our question of the day. So let's get into our question of the day. You can answer on our pinned post on Instagram at SportsCardStrategy, or you can drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. What hobby cliche bothers you the most? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, what I mean by this is there something that you hear all the time related to the sports card hobby, and you just kind of roll your eyes and you're like, when are people going to stop saying that? When are people going to stop saying that one thing? What hobby cliche bothers you the most? I want to know. Answer on our pinned post on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy. Give us a follow, like the post, share it with other hobby friends of yours, because I'm curious on these questions of the day that we ask all the time on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Let's spread the love and let's get more people involved in the discussion. Instagram at Sports Card Strategy. Drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. What hobby cliche bothers you the most? And I'm going to give you mine right now. If you can't think of something, let me know if you like mine or not. Mine is when people say, buy what you love. Oh, just buy what you love. Oh, it'll be totally fine if you just buy what you love. You'll never make any mistakes if you just buy what you love because you spent money on something that you love, right? Wrong. And here's why. Because many people, many of you, not all of you, but many of you are somewhat new to the sports card hobby. Maybe you collected as a kid. Maybe your kids have collected for a while, but you're somewhere between age 20 and 65. I mean, that's our podcast demographics. I mean, honestly, our podcast demographics are age 34 to 65 is the highest group. Now, the next highest group is 20 to 33. So, but I mean, 34 to 65, that means like a lot of you are, established business people. You have families. And you have other responsibilities. You have other things in your life. And so this hobby for you might be brand new because it's gained popularity big time over the last 4 years. And if I would have just went out and bought everything I loved, I would have lost a ton of money. So here's my rebuttal to the people that just say for their best ever advice, just buy what you love. I say, no, don't listen to that crap, everybody, because many of you don't know what you love yet. And that's the whole point. You're trying to get information in the sports card hobby from content creators like myself to help you understand why you may or may not end up loving something. Because there's a lot of bull crap out there. CJ Stroud alone has over 8,000 rookie cards, and all of his rookie cards haven't even come out yet. Joe Burrow and Kenny Pickett have like over 5,000. So, I mean, guys, you gotta be smart. You gotta be smart. You can't just buy what you love. And if you're listening to content creators that just say, "Oh, just buy what you love," I would give that a second thought. I'm not saying be rude to them because there's a lot of good people out there. I'm not saying troll them, but I'm saying like maybe politely challenge them a little bit and be like, look, my guy Paul Hickey over at the Sports Card Strategy Show kind of has a good counterpoint to this. I don't really know what I love yet. And there's a lot of people that lose a lot of money and waste a lot of money simply buying what they love. So if you're out there just thinking it's a safe thing to do to just buy what you love, wrong. Look, I re-entered the hobby back at the end of 2020. I found my old sports card collection. I lost a lot of money buying stuff that I love. This is not just something that I'm making up. Why I do what I do, why I help you make money flipping sports cards, really just flip it around and go, I'm just trying to help keep you in the hobby. Because I think that if you're not informed and if you're not smart about your money, you're going to leave the hobby. And I would respect you for that, because that means that you have other things in your life that are important. And if you're losing money, or if you're buying things that you don't want and they're laying around your house and then you don't know what to do with them, that's not fun. That's not a very fun hobby. It's like if you suck at golf and you get no enjoyment out of it and it just frustrates you because it's a hard game. I don't blame you for leaving golf. I don't blame you for not ever playing golf again. I get it. And same thing with flipping sports cards. Like, you need to basically be good at it in order to stay in the game. So don't just buy what you love. No, my friend. Don't just buy what you love. That is a recipe for disaster, because there could be no end to what you love. So you might fill up your home with a bunch of stuff that you don't want, your family doesn't want, and then you can't get rid of it. And I would argue, my counterpoint to all the content creators out there whose best advice is just buy what you love. My counterpoint is, many people don't know what they love yet. Let's help educate them on why they might love certain things. So you might not be a flipper. You might roll your eyes at me because I just want to make money flipping sports cards. That's my thing. I don't PC anything. I've said that before on the Sports Card Strategy Show. What I like the challenge of being able to buy a card that's going to go up in value. And I'm willing to take my L's, but I'm not just willing to tell people, oh, just buy what you love. No, I'm going to grind for all of you to give you all the information that I can possibly have to help you make smart decisions in the hobby, smart decisions with your money. People who are telling you to just buy what you love, I don't necessarily think that they have all of the experience in the world. Maybe they haven't gone through some of the struggles that other people have gone through to be able to just, they could just buy whatever they love. I mean, that's just not, even if you're doing it in a budget, like on Monday, we talked about what's your budget, right? So even if you're just buying what you love on a budget, that still means that, say, that $50 budget or that $20 budget, like, that's important money to you. That could go towards something else. So look, if you know what you love and you're a collector and you don't care about flipping cards or whether or not the value goes up or down, that's different. But I still think it's bad advice. I still think it's bad advice when people just say, oh, just buy what you love. Because, I mean, I just think that is a complete recipe for disaster. Time to say hello to the live chat. Shane Graham in the house. George Schurer. Ryan Painter says he's going on a 3-mile run while listening today. Likely going to die. Ryan, come on, dude. 3 miles is going to kill you? Let's go. You're in good shape. You're a good-looking dude. I've seen you before. Get out there. You can do that 3-mile run. Mr. T is laughing at Ryan and says, welcome to the club. I think, do we need to start like a fitness club, a Sports Card Strategy Show fitness club, so that 3-mile runs don't kill the audience? No, I'm not a fitness influencer. I never will be. I do run 6 miles a day. So Ryan, I'm proud of you. You're halfway to where you're going to be when you get to Paul Hickey level. Let's see it, brother. Let's see it. I love it. Very proud of you, Ryan, and everybody else out there who's working on their fitness. Just keep going. Just, even if you can't run a mile, that's fine. Jog a mile and a step, and then just add a step every day. And before you know it, you'll be running a marathon. All right. As long as you don't just buy what you love, I'm supporting you. So let's get into some of our safe plays. I mentioned at the top of the show that we were going to talk about safe and we were going to talk about risky on today's show. So many of you, as we say hello to the Sports Card Professor 7, big part of the nooffseason.com fam. Good to see you, Sports Card Professor 7, our guy Orest Boyko. Love you, man. Arrowwoods Hobby Shop says I'm late, but I'm here. Got a live chat love today. Keep it coming in the live chat. Look, if you're late getting into the live chat, that's totally fine. I'll shout you out throughout the show and towards the end of the show. So don't worry. Sean Red 5 Cards, big part of the community. Good to see you. And good luck with your back surgery. So Ryan, there you go. Ryan Painter's running 3 miles and Sean Red 5 Cards is having back surgery and Mr. T is somewhere in between. Emily in the house. What's up? M says new to the fam. Excited to be here. Good to see you, Emily. And the fam is growing. There's a lot of great stuff happening in the hobby, and nooffseason.com and the Sports Card Strategy Show is very proud to be a part of it. Good to see some new names. Let's keep the love going throughout the show. And part of keeping the love going is giving you guys some safe plays to make money. So I'm going to count down our top 5 sports card opportunities to buy, graded, and flip. And then I'm going to crush the myth and the trolls who have been saying that all we do on this show is basically just count down a top 5 now from our formula-based rankings. That's not what we do. It's not true. We do a lot more. Now, our thumbnail graphic on YouTube and on nooffseason.com and on the podcast, the thumbnail graphic says top 5 this, top 5 that. That's not all the show is, though. And if you've listened to the show, you know that. So I don't need to preach to the choir here. All right, let's get into the top 5 sports card opportunities to buy, graded, and flip, which are these are not like literally the top 5 things in the formula-based rankings at nooffseason.com. I have picked these things because it is NFL football buying season. So 4 out of these 5 cards are football cards. 3 are the same quarterback, because I believe that if you narrow your focus in a particular area, a lot of times you increase your chances of making money. If you spread yourself a little too thin, basically what you do there is you have wins, but then you automatically have losses because you put money into too many different areas of sports card investing. So our formula-based rankings at nooffseason.com basically give me a projected ROI for a card. And on Wednesday episodes, what we like to do is look at already graded cards. So we're going to look at some already graded cards. Justin Herbert, his 2020 Optic Hollow 153 PSA 10 is a high upside card. It's a very, very high upside card. But we like to be very conservative here at the Sports Card Strategy Show. And we like to look at, of course, buying the right card for the right player at the right time. Justin Herbert is the right player. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Now is the right time because prices are typically down for NFL cards in late May, early June. And usually throughout June, they're down because the attention is on the NBA playoffs. The attention is on Major League Baseball. The attention is on the NBA draft, even at the end of June. And there goes a little bit of a dead period for NFL news because we're significantly post NFL draft now. We're significantly post NFL free agency. We're significantly early for true NFL training camps to start and the buzz to start around fantasy football, which is foreshadowing for something we're going to talk about later in the episode. So stay tuned because that's the risky part of what we're going to do today. But back to the safe part, buying quarterbacks, buying top tier quarterbacks is pretty safe. Buying them during this time of year is pretty safe. And then looking at what their historical sales value has been in August leading up to the NFL season due to the hype, as well as the potential performance spikes within the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. Why? Because within the first 4 weeks of the NFL season, we're typically still in September, sometimes early October, depending on what team you're looking at and if they have an early bye week and all that stuff. And we're the most excited about our fantasy football teams. We're the most excited about the promise of our favorite NFL franchises. And we're just kind of the most excited to watch football. Thus, with all of that comes early MVP hype chatter. So when you look at quarterbacks and you look at guys like Justin Herbert, it's very important to try to pull out the right cards. So what we do is we run all these cards through our formula-based rankings. I mentioned a minute ago during my rant about don't just buy what you love. I mentioned that like CJ Stroud has over 8,000 rookie cards. Joe Burrow has over 5,000. Kenny Pickett has over 5,000. Justin Herbert is right in there. So we run as many Justin Herbert cards through our formula, and that gives us an idea of, does this have the opportunity to provide ROI at a future selling marker for the already graded card? So Justin Herbert's 2020 Optic Holo 153 PSA 10 is going for $290 right now. This is a $400 card, likely in August or September. So that is a 10% ROI, which is not huge because basically what we're doing is we're subtracting all your fees if you were selling on eBay. So that's why it's only a 10% ROI, but that's making money, everybody. That is making money. So the more of these that you can find and you keep your dollar cost average as close to $290 as possible, you're not foregoing all the upside. By the way, like this could be a $600 card, right? Like it's an Optic Holo PSA 10. So it's not a base. If it were a base, there's no way it would reach that high of an upside. But because it is a shorter printed card in the holo variation, akin to the Prism Silver, if you will, this is a high upside card, but it's safe. It's got a very, very safe floor with some profit built in if you can get it at that 290 mark. So that's the first card we're going to talk about. The next card is his 2020 Prism 325 Laser PSA 10. Okay, so Justin Herbert, 2020 Prism 325 Laser PSA 10. This card is going for around $202 right now. And it's a $300 card safely in late August, early September, safely. So that is actually, there is more of a profit margin there. That is a 19% ROI after fees. And so, you know, you can make significant amount of money on that card and not as high of an entry point as the Optic Holo as well. So the number 3 card is actually a wide receiver. Same first name, Justin. So you probably all know this guy, Justin Jefferson, who was down last year because of injury. He missed most of the season, really, even though he got off to a fantastic start. He still missed most of the season. He's going to have a new quarterback. It's either going to be Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy, maybe a little bit of both, but it's a high-powered offense. Kevin O'Connell offense. Justin Jefferson is going to be the focal point of that offense, and his cards still do sell really well. So definitely weren't, definitely his prices haven't been down that much. He definitely still sells well, and that's a good thing because he's not a super sleeper. He's got similar market to a quarterback. You know, he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 non-quarterbacks that you can buy that have almost as big of a market size as quarterbacks. You know, it would be him, Jamar Chase, and potentially Garrett Wilson, right? So Justin Jefferson, 2020, his Optic Holo, 163. So it's the same card as the Justin Herbert card that we talked about a minute ago that you can get into for $290 in PSA 10. Justin Jefferson, his 2020 Optic Holo 163 PSA 10, you can get into for $128. And that's safely a $200 card in August. So as you do that math, you're looking at a 25% ROI after fees. Now, some of you might be like, well, how does that work? Well, because eBay charges more fees the higher price the card typically. So, and it's going to be on a sliding scale depending upon whether or not you are a top rated seller or not. So Justin Herbert, 2020 Optic Holo PSA 10, you get into for $290, you sell safely for $400 in August. That's a 10% ROI. Justin Jefferson, you get into for $128, which is the going rate on that card. You sell safely for $200. That's a 25% ROI based on the formula at nooffseason.com. The formula is a very conservative way to make money flipping sports cards. There's a ton of upside there, though, because if J Jets goes off, you're in a situation where that card skyrockets way above $200. And let's go back to our other Justin Herbert. So the next card that's a little bit above it from an ROI standpoint, due to the low entry fee and the historical data that tells us that when you compare the entry fee that you can get into this card for now versus what it should sell for when the football season starts, there's a 30% ROI. So get excited about a 30% ROI. Justin Herbert's 2020 base 325 Prism PSA 10, $92 comps. So if you can get it for $92, which is right at current comps, this is a $150 card in August per the formula. So that is a 30% ROI. So football card buying season, we're going to take one quick break from football cards, and then we're going to go back to football cards. It's football card buying season. So we're going to take a quick break and talk about Paolo Banchero. I want to talk about Paolo Banchero, because the formula says that his 2022 Prism Silver 249 PSA 10 is a phenomenal card to buy, already graded right now. And B, because I believe that he is the next up and coming potential face of the NBA. Now, let's temper our expectations and put this in context here for a second. Anthony Edwards has just basically taken the crown of next face of the NBA. Like that's the chatter during this year's postseason, and rightfully so. And honestly, I'll pat myself on the back here for a second because I called that. I did. If you're a loyal listener to the Sports Card Strategy Show going back to when we started in 2021, I've been all over Ant-Man. He's been at the top of the Sports Card Investment Report, Sports Card Rankings at nooffseason.com. Many times in the past leading up to his blow up, and one-on-one strategist package members will agree that I have recommended that they buy Ant-Man's Prism Silver PSA 10 back when it was at the $500 entry point several months ago, and that has tripled. So I've made a lot of people a lot of money on Ant-Man. And so now what do we do next, though? We go, okay, well, now who's next? So to reach the level of where people are chattering about being the next potential face of the NBA, you got to look at, okay, now that he's there, I don't anticipate that his prices will come down that much, but he probably will be there for a long time. So realistically, we're not necessarily looking at someone who's actually going to be the next face of the NBA, because that would be Victor Wembanyama, that would be Anthony Edwards. But when you look at whose card prices could potentially make the jump the way that Anthony Edwards' card prices have made the jump this postseason, Paolo Banchero is number one on that list of who's next, right? Because he, like Ant-Man, he's a number one overall pick. Like Ant-Man, he is the number one player on his team. Like Ant-Man, he is electric. He can shoot. He can dribble. He can drive. He can kick it out. He can put up triple doubles. He can dunk. He can posterize people. He's athletic. He's like Giannis level guy, and he's Anthony Edwards, not necessarily athleticism level guy, but he's face of his own franchise. And if he can lead that franchise back to the playoffs and maybe win a series or two, you will see Paolo Banchero's card prices do what Anthony Edwards' card prices have done. And so with that in mind, a $219 entry point for Paolo Banchero's 2020 Prism Silver 249 PSA 10. Also a guy who's on Team USA. So he's on Team USA. He's an NBA All-Star. And that's a $375 card likely in October. It's likely a $375 card in October. There's no guarantees on any of this. I could give you this disclaimer that this is not financial advice. I think all of us know that it is. I mean, I'm an idiot if I tell you like it's not financial advice. This whole show, the whole premise of this business is basically borderline financial advice. So it's not, I'm not a financial advisor, but I mean, I'm giving you tips on how to spend your money to make money. And so I can't just give a cop out line of like, this is not financial advice. Well, I'm not telling you for sure that this is going to go up to 375, but the formula has math that tells us that is a reasonable upside. It's a reasonable expectation. So that's a 37% ROI. Now, the key is, can you get it for 219? Now would be the time because the Magic are out of the playoffs, and that is the most recent comp. And so if you can buy based on the most recent comps, which you should be able to do, then you should be in pretty good shape. So I would call those our safe bets. Those are our top 5 cards to buy already graded and flip here on the Sports Card Strategy Show. And the next thing I want to do is bring in a little bit more risk to the equation, because if you want to make money flipping sports cards, you got to have a portfolio that has some level of risk along with the level of safety that we typically talk about. So a fun thing to do, especially this time of year in May, June, as you know, as NFL rosters are basically on paper looking pretty similar to what they should look like in late August when you're in your fantasy football drafts, is to look at, you know, who are some sleepers, who are some flyers, who are some flyer picks. So we're going to get into that in a second. But first, let's take a pause and let's go back to the live chat and just say hello. Shane Graham is asking some great questions about, you know, let's just go ahead and read Shane's question. Paul, do you have trouble finding gradable cards online? No, I don't. It's not every card is gradable, but it's part of the grind, baby. It's part of the grind. So you gotta just keep going. You gotta keep it moving. A lot of people will list cards that have no shot of gemming online, and that's a viable strategy. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. You just got to keep looking. So it's all about the grind. Koa definitely says it's so hard to wait for the hype season. I got a few bangers. I'm excited to make some money right now. So that's great. You don't have to wait for the hype season. I mean, I always say, Koa, like if you're up on a card, you go ahead and list that card in a buy it now or best offer and see what you can get. I mean, I did that with 2 Drake London cards. I bought 2 Drake London cards in January, and I think I sold them in March. And I basically doubled my money on each of them. So, you know, you don't have to wait for a selling marker. You just really need to have a selling marker in mind. That doesn't mean that you always need to, you know, wait for a selling marker. So, yeah, great stuff from Koa and Shane Graham. And now let's really get into it. So let's get into it. So I want to give a quick shout out to one of our nooffseason.com premium members who inspired the idea for an article that I dropped at nooffseason.com. And the article is using Fantasy Football ADP. And for those of you who don't know, Fantasy Football ADP is average draft position. So for premium members at nooffseason.com, and again, you can get a free 30-day trial there right now if you don't have one. I don't understand why you don't have one if you are listening to this show. If you're listening to this show, you either need to be a premium member or at least get a free 30-day trial, because there's just so much more great stuff behind the paid wall. Like this article, using Fantasy Football average draft position to find sports card plays. So let's start with, you know, a brief overview of what I did here. I basically took average draft position in early fantasy drafts, and I compared it against their 2023 finish. So if you finished in 2023 much higher than your 2024 average draft position, and you're not necessarily a household name in the hobby, that gives a hype differential score. So the hype differential score is simple. It's just what's your 2023 finish in a basic points per reception league, and what's your 2024 average draft position so far. So that gives you an idea of hype. And we say all the time, hype moves the needle. It's not the only thing that moves the needle, but it's one thing that moves the needle when you're trying to make money flipping sports cards. So when you're trying to make money flipping sports cards, one play is to buy right now guys that you believe will be hyped up a few months from now. And nothing hypes players up that are non-quarterbacks like fantasy football average draft position in August. People who play fantasy football have a high awareness of the guys that I'm about to start telling you about in August. And then they start getting excited about these players' card markets. And so you're in a situation where you can buy in now, knowing that they're going to have high average draft position in August based on early fantasy football drafts. And you can make money on their sports cards. So at nooffseason.com, go read the article. There's a ton of great stuff there. I spent a lot of time on it, and I link directly to the cards that I think you should be buying right now. And so on the Sports Card Strategy Show right now, I'm going to give away for free some of these ideas. Zamir White. Zamir White is a running back going into his third season for the Las Vegas Raiders. And with the move of Josh Jacobs out of there, Zamir White moves up the depth chart and currently sits at the top. And so Zamir White, his average draft position in early leagues is 76. His 2023 finish was 256. So he's at the top in terms of hype differential. So there's a ton of Zamir White cards that I've curated for you at nooffseason.com in this article. One that I'm going to share with you that's already graded. So I pulled up the already graded ones, right? Because that's the theme of today's episode. Already graded cards that you would just buy. You wouldn't have to do anything to these cards. You just let them sit and you watch their value go up. So in an auction right now that ends in 4 days and 6 hours as of this live stream, Zamir White 2022 Contenders Optic Rookie Ticket Auto out of 75 in PSA 9. It's blue variation out of 75. There's only 7 bids on this card right now. It's at $11.50. So you could poke holes in it. You could be like, well, it's a PSA 9. That's fine though. It's out of 75. You might be able to get it pretty cheap. And when you find football cards like this, by the way, that are auctioned off this time of year, it's usually either an inexperienced hobbyist, an inexperienced seller who just kind of needs to get some money back in their portfolio or in their life for whatever reason, or it's a consignment house. And this is a consignment house, quick consign. So that's a quick hobby tip, is that consignment houses don't care about when they sell your cards. They're just going to load in your cards like a bunch of cattle, and they're going to dump the cards off on the day that works best for them and their process. They're not going to think about waiting for a selling marker. So the brilliant thing to do here is to look for consignment house auctions that end for football cards and try to snipe them. And this is one of them right here. This is only one of them. Again, you can get several more if you go to the article at nooffseason.com, but this is a great one. Another Zamir White card that's already graded that, you could crack this out and try to get a PSA 10. That could be a recommendation, but you could leave it as an SGC 9.5. Zamir White Rookie Ticket Auto, Contenders Optic, 142. SGC 9.510. It's a buy it now or best offer. And you could bin it for 105, which is a little high. You can make an offer. My recommendation is that you make an offer for half of that. You want to try to get into players like Zamir White on these already graded high-end cards for around 50 to 60 bucks. If you can get in for 50 to 60 bucks, you got quite a bit of upside. Now, if you're going like, if these were paper Contenders rookie ticket autos that I had just shown you for a guy like Zamir White, you probably don't want to pay more than like 15 bucks if they're raw. Okay, because it is Zamir White. So like he doesn't have a huge market, right? But a guy that I talked about earlier on in the show that does have a huge market that's not a quarterback is Justin Jefferson. Now, you might be asking yourself, like, well, we know about Justin Jefferson. He's not a sleeper, right? But because here's the thing. You always have new people. You always have people that are coming into fantasy football for the first time. You always have people that are coming into the hobby for the first time, and they're not as good at looking at pattern recognition as those of us who have built the muscle, right? Like those of us who have built the muscle of pattern recognition, like that's why you need to stay in this game for as long as possible, because the longer you stay in it, the more chance you will have to make a lot of money. And so Justin Jefferson, even though he's the 6th overall ADP right now, because you have people drafting in fantasy leagues right now that are like the super fantasy players, like the players that it's May 29th and there's already all this average draft position data because people are already drafting in fantasy leagues. And most of them are best ball leagues, but some of them are dynasty leagues, like new dynasty leagues starting, all this stuff. So you still have a wide range, a plethora of fantasy football drafters where this data is coming in from. And it's from fantasypros.com, by the way. I'm getting this data from fantasypros.com. But here's the thing. Justin Jefferson finished 113th last year due to his injury. So because that's another thing though. Like even if we weren't looking at fantasy average draft position, we'd be looking at who's coming back from an injury, right? That's another sports card strategy. So this 2020 Prism Justin Jefferson Red Wave auto, rookie auto, out of 149 is a PSA 8. And it sucks that it's a PSA 8, but it's an auto 10 grade. So that lifts it up just a titch. Just lifts it up just a smidgen. Okay. You could keep this as a PSA 8 and you can make money on it. And again, it's in an auction. Like for some reason, someone is ending a Justin Jefferson auction that's going to end on like June 2nd. So it's probably going to go for a lot more than where it sits right now. It sits at 152 and 50 cents, 29 bids. So there's a lot of people bidding on this item, but I think Justin Jefferson, we talked about his 2020 Optic Hollow PSA 10 earlier on in the show. I think a card like this, related to the premise that he is a top, even potential 5 fantasy football draft pick in points per reception leagues, that brings him back to the forefront of people wanting to buy his cards. And so that's why I think that's a great play. And another guy who people know more than Zamir White that plays the same position as Zamir White is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor just a few years ago was RB1 in just about every format of fantasy football league. And then he got injured the next year and then kind of had contract disputes heading into last season. So it's been a while since we've seen peak Jonathan Taylor, but we know what he can do. And a card like his 2020 Contenders team helmet variation, rookie ticket auto PSA 8 is, you could probably get it cheap. It's so because it's a PSA 8, it might not be the right card. It is the right card, right? And it is the right player and it is the right time. Because it's a PSA 8, it brings it down a little bit. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're thinking like, well, can I crack the J Jets 8? Can I crack the Jonathan Taylor 8? Sure, you can. I mean, that's your prerogative. But this is a show about buying already graded cards and flipping them. So even if you don't do that, you can make money on this card. Jonathan Taylor his average draft position is 12th. He finished 108th last year. So much like what we're doing, reverse engineering the Justin Jefferson situation and saying, hey, look, you've got a well-known athlete that has a huge market and they were injured. So their pricing is in theory down right now. And it's an auction. I mean, you've got the same thing here with Jonathan Taylor, PC Sports Cards, another consigner. So again, a consigner that's just kind of dumping this card. This ends later today. So you got to move on it. It's only at $9.27. So in theory, you're really sniping these that are in auctions. Another one that's in auction is Jamar Chase. So Jamar Chase, same exact thing that I've said for Justin Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor applies to Jamar Chase. Related to injuries, related to big name, ready to come back, ready to have a better season than he did last year. Finished 60th. Being drafted 4th overall. A card like this 2021 Immaculate Jamar Chase RPA, rookie patch auto, serial numbered out of 99, beautiful card in PSA 9. So it's already slabbed up, ready to go for you. J Chase 1 is a sick looking auto on card. I love this card. Ends in a day and 8 hours. It's at $130.50, 12 bids. So I think, that is another great call there. And let's just continue forward with this theme of, wide receivers in this case who can absolutely take the top off of defenses and change games and fantasy matchups, thus skyrocketing their card prices. AJ Brown, did not finish last season healthy, coming back healthy this year, going 7th overall in ADP for points per reception league drafts, finished 42nd last year. So again, he's got that hype differential that I'm talking about. His 2019 Panini Immaculate Collection, Emerald, serial numbered out of 14, PSA 9, on-card auto, with 3 days and 7 hours left, only has 6 bids, and it's only at $30. So you're looking, again, the call here is to go try to get these for the lowest possible price at the right time. It's the right time to be buying these players. And the selling marker is the fantasy football draft season in August, because their ADP should likely continue to climb. Zamir White is going to be a wild card, right? Maybe the Raiders bring in some other RB, who knows? But these other guys are pretty established. Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, locked in, RB1 in Indy. Then you've got Jamar Chase, WR1 in Cincy, high-powered offense. You've got A.J. Brown, WR1, high-powered offense, Philadelphia Eagles. Speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, the last guy we're going to talk about is their new running back, Saquon Barkley. What about a card like this? 2018 Saquon Barkley Optic Rated Rookie Auto Blue out of 75. The card is a Gem Mint 9.5. The auto is a 9. So here's what I love about this card, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Saquon Barkley. The auto 9 might like deter some people, but I don't want it in a Beckett slab anyway. So what I would do with this card is, because it's got 4 9.5 subgrades, and this is foreshadowing to Monday's episode, guys. I've already filmed Monday's episode. It's been shipped. Monday's episode of the Sports Card Strategy Show is already shipped to YouTube, shipped to the podcast apps. I'm not going to be live, but it's fire. And the spoiler foreshadowing alert is why BGS 9.5 is like my favorite search phrase right now. So you'll learn more about that on Monday, but foreshadowing here, Saquon Barkley, what I would do with this card: centering 9.5, edges 9.5, corners 9.5, surface 9.5. Crack it. Submit it to PSA. It's an on-card auto. You're likely to get a 10. Don't get an auto grade. Just don't get an auto grade. Just put it in a bulk submission. I might do it. I'm going to bid on this card right now. It's got 1 bid. I'm bidding on this card right now. Let's see if I get it. All right, I'm winning. I'm winning it. As of now, it ends in 8 days, though. So chances are it's going to go for way more than my $51 bid. I'll have to monitor it. But everybody, that is the segment using fantasy football average draft position to find sports card plays. And Saquon Barkley is not the last player that I talk about in this article, but his average draft position has skyrocketed up to number 11. He finished 43 last year. So now that he's part of that Eagles offense, a lot of hype around him. Hype is what moves the needle in a lot of cases. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other amazing guys with tons of cards that I talk about in that article. So go check it out at nooffseason.com using Fantasy Football ADP to find sports card plays. Don't you love it when I just bid on a card live on the Sports Card Strategy Show? I do. All right, let's go back to some live chat love before we wrap up today's episode. Mr. T says JJ is a Hall of Fame generational talent, according to our guy Carter the Power Bryant over at Football Card Quest. Justin Jefferson? I assume, because Carter's an LSU guy, I assume Mr. T's talking about Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I do. I agree with Carter on that one. Sports Card Professor says eBay gives us lots of eyes or eyeballs on our cards, but might consignment services give us more focused eyes? I don't know. I think that's I don't know. Sports Card Professor, I love you, man, but I don't know what you mean. I don't necessarily know what you mean by that. He elaborates, should consignment services give us consignment comps on how a card we want to sell has sold on their platform? Probably. I just don't necessarily think that consigning cards is a great sports card strategy. I think you should build up your own eBay profile. I think you should sell at the right time. I think you should use all of your non-desirable cards to get solid seller ratings and build up a customer base. And then I think you should maximize your profits by listing the right card for the right player at the right time in eBay auctions. I've talked about that a lot on the Sports Card Strategy Show. I mean, Sports Card School, I elaborate on that a lot more. So go to sportscardschool.com. Orest, I don't know how familiar you are with our content behind the paid wall at nooffseason.com, but definitely I'm not a big believer in the consignment services. Ryan Painter says it's official. Listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show while exercising will give you mad results. I love it. Maybe it was my rant about don't just buy what you love. Who's your card guy in the house? TJ Smothers. What's up, TJ? He says, what's up, Paul? Brand new here. Love the vids. Love it. Thanks, TJ. I appreciate you. Sports Card Professor also says, I like the diversified strategy of Sports Card Strategy Show of discussing already graded cards in the formula. Love it. Yeah. We're trying to do everything we can here, Professor, to help people make money flipping sports cards. And so there's much, much more, as you know, at nooffseason.com. Everybody go check it out. But first, I want to ask you, are you ready to start grading your cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards from their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing. CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. Everybody, look out for more great content from us this week, next week, into the future. For Paul Hickey and everybody else here at nooffseason.com, have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. To connect with us further, please subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Please also give us a follow on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy and on X at nooffseason card. We also have a Discord that you could join at sportscardstrategy.com. Everyone, I'm Paul Hickey. For the rest of us here at nooffseason.com, have a great day. We'll see you again soon.